But of course, we had a third dimension, which was critical, which is the students themselves, who were the youth at the heart of the revolution.
Hello and welcome to Insights from Abroad. This podcast is part of the Middle East and South Asia Initiative in the College of Sciences at the University of Central Florida. My name is Daniel Molina. Our mission here is to engage, educate, and influence the international community. Today I'm joined by Dr. Ahmed Tolba to discuss some topics surrounding our North Africa series. Dr. Tolba, thank you for joining me today.
Thank you very much.
So that our listeners are aware, Dr. Tolba is the Associate Provost for Strategic Enrollment Management and Associate Professor of Marketing in the School of Business at the American University in Cairo. He is also Director for El Khazindar Business Research and Case Center, which is the first center in the Middle East and North Africa region that focuses on developing world-class refereed case studies. He was awarded his PhD from the George Washington University in 2006 and his MBA and BSc from AUC in 1997 and 2001, respectively. Dr. Tolba's professional experience includes 4 years at P&G Egypt. In addition, he was responsible for several internal training and development programs, such as leadership, individual effectiveness, and finance for non-finance managers. He also served as a consultant for several local firms, including Wadi Degla, Net Signature, Al Rashad Asset Management, GMC, Taki and Engineering Consultants Group, among others. Well, Dr. Tolba, at approximately 6,000 students and being located in the capital, AUC is one of Egypt's premier private institutions. For students, I'm going to start the question over. Well, Dr. Tolba, at approximately 6,000 students and being located in the capital, AUC is one of Egypt's premier private institutions. For students and researchers listening to the podcast, what do you want to say to them to possibly make them consider going abroad to study and to do research at your university?
Thank you very much. Right now, we have a new partnership between AUC and UCF for student exchange. So this is a timely question. Mm-hmm. AUC is a top quality university in Egypt. So students at UCF would be interested to go to make sure and study a quality program in a very interesting country. So AUC is an English based university, so all courses are taught in English. It's accredited by Middle States, and all our programs are accredited by top accreditation bodies. So the different schools are like this. So the transfer of courses is easy. So any concern in terms of academics is not a problem. However, there are some students who may be interested to study Arabic language, study political science, study Middle Eastern studies, Islamic art and architecture, and also explore some very interesting excursions in Cairo. AUC is a perfect place for that because they will perfect their study, they will transfer their credits, they will take courses in their majors, and they'll take other courses that will allow them to explore the culture, allow them to understand how different students are behaving and interact. Another thing that's very important about AUC is the student activities. We are a liberal arts institution. Our students are involved in a lot of clubs and activities. We have about 65 clubs. And mostly students from international universities come there and enjoy this experience too. Another element that is critical, besides the activities within the campus, is the activities outside the campus. So we offer a lot of excursions that are well designed and organized, and we support the students' travels and activities within the area. So they go and see all the places that are interesting in Cairo, whether this is for fun or for academic purposes. But they will enjoy that, and the university supports that. So another thing that is important about students coming there is that we offer also internships. AUC is a top university in the region, and we are very close to the market, very close to the leaders in the country. Just to give you an idea, we have the current Minister of Education is our previous dean in the School of Sciences and Engineering. We have several ministers, ladies and gentlemen, who are leading the cabinet in Egypt right now, and they are always on campus. We have 38,000 alums who are in 120 plus countries, very top levels,
right.
whether in the World Bank, whether in the IMF, and many others. And they are also leading the corporate institutions in Cairo, so the main multinationals or the local businesses, and they are always on campus. So you are very close to that, and you can have also an internship there. So it's a very good opportunity to be exposed to this part of the world in a very high quality manner. And finally, there are some students who may be concerned about safety and security, and I can tell them that this is really very, very in a very good shape. So the Department of State has recently put AUC as level 2 in terms of security levels, along with countries like Germany, France, the UK, and many others. So level 1 is just like no worries at all. Level 2 is okay, but be careful. But there are levels 3 and 4, and Egypt is put in level 2. So this confirms the fact that we're in good shape. And I want just to add another thing is that we have about 170 plus partnerships with international universities. About 60 of them, 55, 60 of them are with universities in the US, and we have had a lot of students coming. We still do. And our current partnership with UCF is just a start to have so many students from UCF hopefully coming. And the fact that we have one UCF student coming this summer to AUC is a proof that things are really great. So I look forward to receiving all UCF students to come to AUC and enjoy and have a great experience academically and fun and culture exposure and everything.
Yeah, no, 100%. That sounds like a really incredible opportunity for a lot of students here and over there to do the exchange. Super exciting for UCF. This year is the university's Centennial, and in those 100 years, it has seen numerous historical events. A lot has happened in the last 100 years of Egyptian history. So most recently, it saw the Egyptian Revolution in 2011, which was marked by violent clashes between the pro and the anti-government groups, and it ended with the resignation of President Hosni Mubarak. How did the university react to such a pivotal moment in Egyptian history and in the university's history itself, being located where it was at the time?
Great question. I am an AUC graduate. I've spent all my undergraduate and graduate times in the old campus, which was located in Tahrir Square, which is at the heart of the Egyptian revolutions. We were lucky somehow because we moved to our new beautiful campus that has maybe a larger space and a better location right now. In 2008, so fall 2008, we moved right 2.5 years before the Egyptian Revolution. Having said that, our old campus, which is right inside Tahrir Square, still there. It is a cultural center right now. We do a lot of events and activities there. It's arts, culture, and so on. And it's even funded by a great businessman in Egypt who supports arts and culture. But the time where the revolution took place was very interesting because actually the whole of Cairo was not stable at all. But our campus, there are drawings of the revolution around it. So it was, of course, a lot of people were around that area, and all the activities were around there. So we were very famous at that time. But we were lucky because we moved. Hadn't we moved, I think the semester would have been in trouble. It was in January and it extended to February, March. So that was lucky. So that's from a location standpoint. From an activity and academic standpoint, it was interesting too because we had to do some smart academic activities during the start of the semester because the revolution started in January 25th, but it extended till February 11th, where President Mubarak resigned. And during that time, we had to use blended learning, a blended learning approach in many of the courses. We met in several other places, and the faculty were supportive of that. Students were supportive of that. So we managed it. It was a very interesting and tough one. But of course, we had a third dimension, which was critical, which is the students themselves, who were the youth at the heart of the revolution, who were taking this at heart, and they were starting to be also rebellious in general, and the university had to be very smart in accommodating the youth and the rebellious people, and also not being perceived as supporting a party over another. So we are an academic institution, we are not politically linked at all. So it was a very interesting time, challenging, but it passed brilliantly well.
Yeah, because you want to support the students at the same time. You don't want to take a side during such a pivotal, crucial moment.
Absolutely. May I also support your last sentence by saying that we are a liberal arts institution. So we support liberal arts approach of critical thinking, debating. So it's a free speech kind of place. So you can do whatever, you can say whatever you want. We have discussions. You can have sit-ins. You can have whatever you want to do, and the students of course do this all the time. They do it for tuition, they do it because they are not happy about something, so of course they have been doing it because of the greater cause, or what they believe was the right thing, and we supported the fact that they have to express themselves, and that's part really of what AUC is all about.
That's really cool. That goes against a lot of maybe the preconceived notions that a lot of people might have of, majority Muslim countries where it's the government doesn't allow certain things, or you can't speak out. The freedom of speech, I guess, would be the one that most people think, especially in places like Saudi Arabia. You see what just happened with Jamal Khashoggi, like stuff like that. So that's really cool that the AUC supports that freedom of speech.
Absolutely. I have to tell you that AUC does something also very important. We support freedom of speech, but in the country in general, the freedom of speech in Egypt is far better than many other countries in the region. So people can talk. Our media talks and everything. Of course, not as free as the US, but it's not as bad as people think. However, what we do is, if we have researchers who want to do some studies about some topics that are quite sensitive or interesting from their respect, AUC has a strong link with the government. So we make sure that any study or any activity is supported or approved by the government beforehand. So we also do some liaison between the researchers who are interested to do some topics and the government, so that because the government may be skeptical about whoever is coming and wants to do a study, especially during this sensitive time. So AUC does this liaison, but of course any researcher needs to be very careful not to go by himself or herself and do a sensitive study and then be exposed to the skepticism of the government.
All right. Now going back a little further from the protests in 2011, how did the university deal with events like the cessation of Egyptian-American diplomatic relations in 1967 following the Arab-Israeli War? Our relations were a lot different back then, and I think U.S.-Egyptian relations have come a long way since then. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, sure. I'm not a political expert, so I will not be able to give you in-depth discussions and thoughts, but I can tell you something interesting about AUC, which is in 1967, this is the time where there was a break, and the university is an American university, so the normal thing is that the university would close. And actually the president of the American University in Cairo has to be American. That's by the protocol.
Oh, interesting.
And at that time, the Egyptian government had to impose something like we have to have somebody from the government and all these kinds of things. And this lasted for a very short period of time, and then we were back on track, and the university has never closed. So this is one of the stories that I have not experienced. I was not born at that time, but one of the things that's really interesting is that we proudly say that because AUC really supports the strong link between Egypt and the US, supports the mission of really offering high quality education and make a difference and liaise cultures together. And that's why we are here. We are here because we want all the universities to partner with AUC, because we want this interaction between the different students, the different cultures, because this will really lead not just to knowledge and experience, but also leads to peace, because that's what, when you are a global citizen who understands the different cultures, this is what really avoids miscommunications and misunderstandings.
100%. Yes, couldn't agree more. Now, you're also the director for the Al Khazindar, am I pronouncing that correctly? Al Khazindar Business Research and Case Center. So UCF has a great business school itself, and we have many students who want to establish their careers in international business in particular. So now at AUC, the KCC, I believe is the acronym for it. It's the first center of its kind in the Middle East and North Africa region that focuses on developing world-class refereed case studies. Can you tell us about what the center does exactly and the opportunities it presents for maybe a business student that might want to go to AUC?
Absolutely. Let me first make sure that it's clear that I founded the center. I was the director, but now as an associate provost, I left the center. So there is another director there at the moment.
Okay.
But I'm very proud to start this. Al-Khazindar is Hisham Al-Khazindar, who is one of the prominent businessmen in Egypt and one of the AUC's board of trustees. And he supported the launch of the center because he's a Harvard graduate.
Okay.
And one of the things that I have done as well as a believer in case studies is that I launched the center in order to produce case studies on businesses in the region. And we as a teaching method in the School of Business, where I belong, we use case studies a lot. We use critical thinking in general, so we use a lot of activities, examples, we get guest speakers, we get people from the market, but we also use case studies. And in order to use top case studies from Harvard or Ivy or Case Center or the likes, a lot of cases are great, for sure, no question. But there are some cases that are not relevant to the region. And our students would like to see things that they can see. Sometimes the problems of the case, even if the company is known, but the problem itself is very unique to the US or unique to Canada or unique to Europe, but not relevant to the region. So what I wanted to see is we have very interesting cases. I worked for Procter & Gamble myself in Egypt, and the market is different. There are different challenges. So we wanted to produce case studies that really reflect what is there. We have a lot of entrepreneurs who face completely different challenges in the region than in the West. So we produced more than 150 cases now. I think the new directors are pushing for much more. We have a lot of publications. We have partnerships with different publication centers or universities to produce such cases. And I believe that this is very successful. And the point is not to have these cases only. These cases could be studied by UCF students here. But this is a proof that when UCF students in business come to AUC, they will see a different business environment. They will see different perspectives, completely different challenges. And when they come and study a course, they will study the concepts, but the application and how a global company applies this in the region, because the center is not only focusing on Egypt. So you may find cases on Saudi Arabia, you may find cases on the UAE, you may find cases on Morocco, right? So it's very interesting to see how these things are interrelated together and how we can find the real problems and solve them. And this really enriches the idea of being an international business expert or a global expert.
And next, I had wanted to ask you a little bit about your research in nation branding. For those who don't know, what is nation branding and what are the benefits of effective nation branding? And how can you measure something like that in numerical data?
Well, that's a fantastic question. I've done some research on that topic. My focus of research was on branding in general. This is where I got my PhD in. Currently, I'm also doing some research related to social marketing and entrepreneurship, which is the main topic that is growing in Egypt. And all these things are linked together. But let me talk about nation branding in particular here, because it's really very much linked to what we are doing with the Rosen College in our partnership. The Rosen College for Hospitality Management, of course. Nation branding means that when you brand a product, it's just like you try to market for it, and the brand carries the value that offers, whether it's on a product or several products or a company. But countries also brand themselves. And quantifying that is not an easy thing because it depends on the perception of the different customers, but marketing for that brand is very important. Meaning that if I measure the equity of a brand, I see how consumers, or let's say different customers all over the world, would perceive this country. And one of the most critical issues in branding is brand positioning. Brand positioning means how do you want this country to be perceived and to whom? So if I say Egypt, a lot of people think about the pyramids. Egypt is far beyond the pyramids. And from a nation branding standpoint, and I've done a couple of papers on that I am raising the debate of whether Egypt should be positioning itself around old historic monuments and activities only, or should also position itself around a holistic experience. And we claim that we have the best beaches in the world. Actually, whenever I go to beaches all over, very famous ones, I mean, I feel, I want my beaches because it's light blue, it's fantastic, the sand is great, and so on. So we have the desert. We have so many activities. The weather is great all the time. We have now, by the way, the Minister of Tourism is a dear friend of mine, and actually she's an AUC alum. And I believe that we need to position ourselves well. We need the image of the brand of the country to be great. We have a lot of case studies of countries who are able to change the perception of the people around that country. Not that the old perception is bad, but it's not enough.
Mm-hmm.
One of the research about tourism has indicated that the monument-based tourism or the historic tourism, people usually go once and that's it.
Mm.
You go to the pyramids, you see the pyramids.
Yeah.
Probably you'll not go again to see the pyramids again, right? You'll go and see something else or another country.
Right.
So that's why countries like Spain and France have an incredible number of tourists, because they have beaches, they have experience, they have shopping. These kinds of things are more from a revenue standpoint. So yes, you should have this as an anchor, but it should not be the main anchor.
Mm-hmm.
So these, again, I'm not saying that my opinion is the right opinion. People may debate, but it's a very interesting thing, because if the worst thing is that you don't have an identity, and if you don't have an identity, you will not be able to find the right customer or the right tourist to come and visit you. And this is where the branding is all about. You need to look at it the right way. Another thing is not just about the outward dimension, which is you coming to Egypt and thinking about Egypt as, I want to spend 2 weeks because I want to go to the monuments for 3-4 days, and I want to go to the desert for 4-5 days, and then go to the Red Sea, and then go to the Mediterranean and Cairo and all these kinds of things. You need to have a package. And this is one. But another one is important, which is the internal marketing, which is, if you need to have a good experience. So you need the infrastructure to be good. You need the people to be friendly. Our people are very friendly, but we need things to be organized. You need the hotels to be in good shape, all these kinds of things. So if you don't build your infrastructure well, all what you're doing does not work. So as a marketing expert, I can tell you, I do not believe that I advertise a bad product.
Yeah.
If I have something that people don't want, and I do not offer a good value, I cannot really talk about it, because even if you try it, you will figure out that it's not good enough, so you will not enjoy it. And if a tourist comes to Egypt, sorry, if a tourist comes to Egypt and does not enjoy his or her time, the negative word of mouth will not bring us new tourists.
Yeah.
But if very few tourists come and enjoy their time big time, they come back and they talk about it, and then the positive word of mouth will really drive it. And by the way, this resonates with what we're doing with international universities, UCF, AUC as an example. If UCF students go at AUC and they enjoy their experience, they will come back and they will bring others through the positive word of mouth.
Yeah, that's incredible. That's really interesting. That's an interesting perspective. Like you said, you're like, I'm not saying that that's how it is, but no, I think that's an interesting perspective, because it's very true. You know, when you think of like Europe, for example, that's something that a lot of people continuously go to, and then when you go to Egypt, you think, oh, the pyramids. You don't want to go back just that one time. You want to be able to go back to a place for multiple reasons, and I think it's important to market all of those reasons, right, to get the comprehensive experience. So, no, 100% in agreement with that. That's really interesting. I guess we talked a little bit about what Egypt could do to improve its nation branding. I guess you could say, you were like, oh, we need to have the correct infrastructure and everything. What do you think the United States could do to improve its nation branding? Right now, it's a little bit of a curveball question for you.
Well, that's a difficult question for me, because I don't know everything about the United States. I love being here. In terms of coming here, I always have a very positive perception. I think the United States is huge to have one single perspective or image. Each state is different. So from a tourism standpoint, coming to Florida, it's completely, I'm coming from DC now, is a completely different experience from New York. So if you look at it holistically as a country, it's more of a political question. But if you talk about it from a tourism and branding standpoint, I think the US is one of the best places that is marketing each state or place through something. Like I was in Virginia or DC, they are branding themselves around something, like for lovers for Virginia. Like Florida definitely is Orlando is definitely, even Orlando, not just Florida as a whole. Orlando is anchored around Disney and around the tourism and fun and entertainment. So I believe that the branding is by state rather than by country when it comes to a huge country like a continent like the US. If you refer to the political dimension, again, I'm not a political expert to discuss this in detail, but I believe that politics are very difficult to measure by the normal people. So it's whatever we are now. Building good relations with every country is key. So sometimes in political challenges, you have to take a stand somewhere. So it's a tough situation. So it depends on who you're going to talk to, because people are conflicting together. So if you are with one, the other one will not be happy about it with you. But apart from that, how the country is managing its politics is something beyond my knowledge to evaluate scientifically.
That was pretty much the last question I have for you. Is was there anything else about AUC that you want our listeners to know before we sign off?
Well, I would like to talk a little bit about the partnership between AUC and UCF, and I would like to send a special thanks to Mr. Jonathan and Miss Nancy Wolf, who funded this partnership. So this partnership is not just about let's go and let's have an exchange between AUC and UCF. There is money involved, and these people are really very passionate about it, because they are UCF graduates. Of course, Mr. and Mrs. Wolf are prominent businessmen in the area, but also they spent a study abroad semester at AUC, and that's why this was a great experience. When I talked to Mr. Jonathan Wolf, he always says that this was one of the most impressive experiences he had. So that's why he wanted the UCF students to gain that experience, because he believes in UCF. So he wants AUC students to go and enjoy. That's good word of mouth,
good marketing.
It's a great one. So and he proved this by supporting. So he's supporting the students. So an exchange agreement, for your knowledge, is that a student pays the tuition in their own institution. So a UCF student will pay at UCF. So the extra costs are costs of accommodation, travel, and the likes. So this is the only thing that will be covered by the fund. But it's not little. And it really encouraged, because you're paying your tuition anyway, but what about the others? But you'll go and gain this experience. So, but the partnership is not only student exchange. It is faculty exchange and faculty development and activities with the Rosen College. So I will talk about the 3 dimensions quickly. Student exchange, we know. Faculty exchange, we want to encourage faculty to go and do research together. We have programs that we offer at AUC and at UCF, and there are programs at UCF, but we would love faculty at AUC to come here and talk and spend a week or two with faculty at UCF and discuss certain research topics, come up with joint activities and the likes, also teach in the other institution if possible, and vice versa. So faculty exchange is always something great to solidify the partnership, because student exchange, students graduate at the end of the day. So this is just a mobility kind of thing. But if you turn this into a stronger institutional partnership, it's there, and it happens only through faculty. And the third one is we have a very special supported partnership that we hope we establish between AUC School of Business and the Rosen College for Hospitality Management. Rosen College is a top 1, top 2 in the world in hospitality management, and I'm very impressed with the work it's done here. And we do not have a hospitality management program at AUC, and we would love to build on it. We have a very, very strong School of Business that is top 50 in Ed Universal ranking, and it's triple crowned. It's accredited by all parties from the US from AACSB in the US to ECUS in Europe and the likes. So it's really very strong. Not because I'm there, okay, but that's I'm very proud of my school. I'm very proud of my school. But basically, we want to establish capacity in Egypt in general through AUC in hospitality management and tourism. And we talked about tourism, we talked about nation branding, and we believe we have a great minister, or an AUC graduate as well, and we really want to have an impact. And this is what really matters in partnerships. Partnership, mobility, the impact is on the students themselves, so they gain cultural exposure and so on. But the faculty, they also learn and do better research, but also we want the faculty to partner together, the universities as institutions to partner together to have an impact on specific projects. So you can have improvement in the tourism industry through training programs or development programs there. And of course, it's not easy to do this from the US. So having a partner in Egypt and working together on developing special programs, not just for students, but also for outsiders in Egypt, of their tourism program and hospitality program, because that's a great opportunity for us. Having this partnership between Rosen College and AUC will allow us to develop special programs training or development that supports the government, supports the private sector, supports students, so that we gain better knowledge and application from one of the best institutions in the world in that area. And of course, UCF can utilize this expertise to expand its reach in the region. So I think it's a win-win. I'm going to meet with Dean Wang today, and we already connected him with Dean Kamil, who is the Dean of the School of Business. And I think we are at a very early stage, but we have also connections with the minister. We have connections with the private sector. So we hope that this would be a start for something big. We'll start small to have an impact, but we really have a dream to make a strong effect on the ground, not just among the students of AUC.
Yeah, no, this partnership I think is going to be really great for both AUC and UCF, and I think the students and the faculty have a lot to benefit from an incredible opportunity like that. Well, thank you, Dr. Tolba. It's been an absolute pleasure to speak with you today, and we thank you so much for being here and sharing your experiences with us. If you want to learn more about today's guest, our mission, or our program, you can visit us at our PMBF website, or go follow any of our social media pages. For the Middle East and South Asia Studies program here at UCF, this is Dan Molina. Thank you for listening.